to a new video. Today I'll be taking the Honda Navi out for a ride, and I'll be taking it to southern Indiana because I haven't done that in a while. And I will be crossing the 2nd Street Bridge to get this into Indiana. The Honda Navi has a top speed that's slow enough you don't want to take it on any actual expressways. So that rolls out taking the bridges to Indiana that come from the expressways, either from I-65 or 64. So instead you have to take the 2nd Street Bridge. I generally don't care a lot for crossing this bridge because it's, in my opinion, somewhat hazardous. The speed limit is 35 miles per hour, but basically nobody does that. And I'm using a different setup for this video than usual. Instead of having the GoPro camera attached to the helmet, instead is attached to a chest mount. Looks a little bit different view, but if you can see on the road, on this right-hand lane, they have the markings that indicate that this is also a lane to share with cyclists. I do not think that I would want to ride a bicycle on this bridge. I don't think I would want to take a powerful e-bike that can do 30 miles per hour on this bridge. I just, on this Navi, it can be hazardous enough depending on the time of day and what traffic's like when you go over. So now I'm exiting into Jeffersonville, Indiana. I'll go down by the riverfront area, then I'll go a little bit further out into different parts here. Yeah, but if you do have a bike or, you know, any type of pedestrian type vehicle, electric scooter, bike, what have you, you can get to Indiana by going across the Big Four pedestrian bridge, which much safer. You know, you may have to slow the speeds down and not go super fast, but to me it just feels far safer than trying to take a bicycle across the 2nd Street Bridge. So I'll just kind of loop through some of these areas and down by the river for a minute. So there's a number of restaurants down through here. There's Upland Brewing, which is a brewery that has food, which the times I've been, I liked it. And there's a Hooters restaurant. There's a El Nepal, so Mexican food, and Kingfish, which has seafood, and they also have, I think, like chicken and burgers and stuff, if you don't like seafood. That's all stuff that's along this main stretch, and there's, you know, down by the pedestrian bridge, there's more stuff. Yeah, so straight ahead, that is the pedestrian bridge. And it exits by some restaurants, so I will loop around to those. There's all these kind of historic homes down here along the river. It is something that's pretty interesting. If you had came here, a decade ago, this area was nowhere near as happening as it is now, in terms of having different restaurants and stuff going on down here. Actually, I'm going to go straight and go down by the river first, and then I'll come back and loop to the restaurant. So along the area here, there are some different locations that have like patios and balconies that overlook the river. There's Clunkers, like a chicken place. There's different apartments and condos up here. Yeah, so I'm going to go down here under the wharf. So this is just where you could bring a boat, where you could park. There's all these parking spots, all these benches that overlook the river. So you get an interesting view over the Ohio. There's a bunch of geese up here and ducks. Yeah. So that's the Ohio River. There's barges going across. Pretty big boat coming this way. Looks like some type of yacht or something. There's all these geese. There's a bunch of there are a lot of ducks up along the edge here, sunbathing, or some of them look to be taking advantage of the shade. It's something that is pretty fun if you come over here, because I'll come over here on bike rides or e-bike rides or stuff. If you come across the Big 4 bridge into Indiana, you come into Jeffersonville, and then without going all that far, you can cross over from Jeffersonville to Clarksville and New Albany. So you can cover 3 different cities all without going all that far. There's really, no discernible difference between the cities. They all it's not all vastly different or something. Yeah, so there's different restaurants down through here and bars in this area. There's a Red Yeti over to the right. And then over on this street, there is this place over here. I'm forgetting what it is called, but there's I think it's Union something. There's a game yard where you can come over here and play, cornhole or different bar games. Looks like there's a Mexican restaurant opening up as well. Then there's over to the left is Parlor Pizza. So a pizza restaurant, and there's different boba tea places and stuff in here. So, a lot more than there was down through here a decade ago. There's still some older, businesses have been here forever. So now we get a little bit of open road. So yeah, that was kind of going around the riverfront area in Jeffersonville, kind of close to the Big 4 bridge. You have a bunch of restaurants and bars through there. They're all kind of walking distance. You can park on the Kentucky side and walk across the bridge over to the Indiana side to access all of the restaurants and bars if you want. Or you can just come over here. On the Kentucky side, unfortunately, at this point, there is not a lot of stuff on the Kentucky side. Directly by the Big Four Bridge. There will oftentimes be vendors and stuff down there with carts and stuff, but there aren't, you know, any sit-down restaurants currently. Because there were over years past, but then they closed. And this isn't like a route that I pre-planned, so I don't actually know where all this goes. And I just thought I would ride around down here, because I had done a video in the past where I went to downtown New Albany and drove around. And this is going in the opposite direction of that. Just kind of curious where all this stuff goes. I know that they have signs along here about sharing the road with bicycles. I've ridden one of my e-bikes through here before, and it was mostly okay. I got to a certain point where it, I can't remember exactly the route I went then, but I got to a certain point where it felt like wasn't quite moving fast enough to be safe. So right here to the left, I just passed the Lighthouse Restaurant Lounge. Never been there before. I know there's probably, I think there's signs for there's a new development, building new stuff through here, homes or apartments or condos. This is a you know, an interesting mix to go through here versus where I typically ride. Bit of industrial stuff down through here. And then now it's kind of getting into more residential neighborhoods. I think it's 35, so the car in front of me has been going under the speed limit as I'm driving. But something, you know, it is interesting because this road too has the, you know, all the signage about sharing the lane with bikes. You know, in riding on a bike myself, like an e-bike or a bicycle, you know, it's nice being able to ride places on a bike, but a lot of times when you end up on shared roads like this, it doesn't feel that safe. Because, you know, even on the e-bikes where you can hold a consistent speed of, you know, 20 or more, people get very impatient going under the speed limit, so that they, you know, first chance to pass you, and oftentimes don't leave adequate space to really be safe. You know, personally, when I ride bikes around somewhat close to my house or my area, you know, I know all the back roads, so I mostly just stick to side streets and back roads where the speed limits are 25 and then stay off the main roads. but, you know, if I'm going to new areas I haven't been to before, I wouldn't necessarily know all of that. So sometimes, you know, there will be bike lanes on the road, which are just lines essentially in the shoulder of the road, and then they'll just end, and then you're on a road that has a speed limit of, you know, 45 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour, and then the bike lane just ends and you're on your own. Which, not the greatest thing to have to deal with. I'll go over here to this boat. I've never been down through here before. Come on. I guess I went through the exit. So this is Duffy's Landing. So there's a picnic area. There's a launch ramp to put your boat in. Yeah, so on the other side is Louisville. Homes around here from pretty palatial looking estates. I assume that, you know, like anywhere, once you have a clear, nice view of the river, and there's a lot of stuff obstructing your view, like businesses or, you know, huge flood walls or things, the homes are probably nicer and more expensive. Hopefully the audio on this isn't too windy. So it says you go left for the Ohio River Scenic Bypass. I'm not sure where all this goes, but I'll go along for a little while. It's always something you miss a lot of times. You go on vacations to places. You know, you'll go to the specific location. So, you know, if you go to New Orleans and you stay in the French Quarter, that's usually where you kind of stay. Or, you know, if you go to some beach in Florida or the West Coast, California, something, a lot of times you kind of stay by the areas you went on vacation to, as opposed to in a lot of places, if you drive, you know, under an hour in different directions, you can see vastly different types of neighborhoods and living compared to, you know, some places that aren't all that far away. And I wouldn't say anything here looks too vastly different on neighborhoods, and on the Kentucky side, it's just interesting to, you know, see what it all looks like. Because on the Kentucky side, if you go down along the riverfront, you know, there's some condos and apartments and stuff, and then you pass the neighborhood Indian Hills, which is off the river road, that's super affluent. Then if you keep going down, there's more affluent homes, and then it kind of goes into Prospect. But if you know, go the other way in downtown and come out, you know, going west, then go to areas that are less affluent. So, you know, places that aren't separated by, you know, a very long car trip can be vastly, vastly different. Here. Yeah, because if I kept going straight, it was going to take me out to where there's a lot of restaurants and businesses and stuff like that. And it would go back towards the bridges that you have to take the expressway to get to, which I really can't do on this bike, so yeah, so it's just going around in southern Indiana. It's a pretty nice day. It's high 70s, low 80s. Supposed to be sunny. It's windy, but not super windy. Jeffersonville Aquatic Center is over here. Aquatic Center, and then a very, very tiny church. There's some dedicated bike lanes here that actually have a little bit of space. As you know, an issue I mentioned is this will just, it ends right here. So then you're back on the road. So in Indiana, Kentucky, a lot of places like this, there'll be kind of interspersed bike lanes that take you a little bit of the way, but not the entire way at all. Alright, so that was taking the Honda Navi through southern Indiana. I started off on the Kentucky side and came across the 2nd Street Bridge to southern Indiana, rode around in Jeffersonville, kind of around the restaurant row where all the restaurants and bars are by the Big 4 Bridge, and then went a little bit further out, going down, a little bit further into Jeffersonville, going along the river, and then just, eventually going through a bunch of neighborhoods and then just bringing it to an end. Yeah. So that was taking the Honda Navi for a ride. Until next time.